So
Simplicity,
which is why when say I'm developing a new process for something, and I walk with them through the process.
Okay.
So anytime I make a new process, beyond what I think it should be, I go through it with the person who should be doing the job, so that I know that I'm even in the right ballpark.
Okay.
So you have to be with your audience so that you can know what your audience wants and how they communicate. So then you go through that, then you see where you might have fallen short or where they may have missed.
So you're saying that do you see that the majority of the miscommunication fault being in the person providing it, or
so what
or
it comes
you
down
just not
to,
knowing the person? Do they take any responsibility for not saying I don't know what you need for them to count on, or
so? In my instance, dealing with manufacturing, right? You're dealing with cultural change.
Okay.
So lots of times people have a fear of sharing. They have a fear of putting something out there because then they lose their job. No one wants to lose their job.
You're basically saying, I don't know what I'm doing, fire me. That's what
or they've seen someone give all the information they know, then give that job to someone else. Now you don't have a job. You're not special anymore.
Gotcha.
But most parts, it's I think it's actually very human to not want to admit that you don't know something, to not want to admit that you don't understand something, or you can't see something that someone else is trying to give to you.
Do we introduce ourselves? Do we give a fuck about that, or I guess we should quickly.
Emel,
CEO, CFO, and I'm glad that you said that because we need to talk about it, especially when it comes to the idea of this is the benchmark of whether or not you're going to be doing something. Either it could be the life-changing journey that a lot of people find themselves going to. Just this weird concept that comes out of nowhere that turns out to be something that millions of people use and love, and it could bring you notoriety or it could bring you money. Who knows what happens, but nothing happens without clearly understanding and describing basically an idea. So I wanted to get into that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
A lot of innovation actually comes from a plain need.
Yes.
Like, man, I need to be able to do that better.
So I just wanted to again state the following: we are not really professionals when it comes to the field of especially business. We have been around offices. I have been around a lot of executive decision making, and I have some basic knowledge of what goes on when it comes to like think tanks, writing rooms, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But actual real person self-experience that I've actually utilized myself in being an entrepreneur haven't had the opportunity of doing that. So a lot of these are just principles and stuff that comes into us, our tryings, our failings, our trying all over again, going into new. We've done the research, we just haven't had the proper avenues to cross the threshold into us actually being business owners. Actually, this is our first attempt of doing that.
We're walking through the process with you.
So, again, I hope you find value in it. I really wish I could give you basic standards of what the professionals are doing. All I can do is give you what we have come up with when it comes to our tryings, our philosophies, and stuff like that. And just our inner way of thinking of our processing of finding out whether or not this is something that can be systemic and can grow, or if it's just a fracture of something that is good that just doesn't work out and die on its own, which a lot of people through hubris and ego try to force ideas that just doesn't work because they think it says something about them rather than the idea itself. You're going to have bad ideas. It's not a bad thing.
You have to be able to recognize that
the process that we're going to describe essentially here is how to find out whether or not it's if it's an idea, if it's a concept that leads to an idea that's stable enough to move to an actual thing.
Correct.
So the terminology and stuff that I came up with is just philosophies and me thinking about how we would move forward and how I can basically have an understanding of if I don't understand it, I can't communicate it to anybody else, and I can't make it a formula that I can follow you need that, especially when it comes to focusing and putting the time in to get your thing done. You need a system of some sort. So basically, this is what I've come up with. So I hope you enjoy.
This is the email process.
So when it comes to starting a business, you have an idea, which is fantastic. Usually, most people.
So we should put the light bulb graphic.
Sure. A lot of people usually have an idea about a product or a service or a hybrid. So far, there are only three things that you can pretty much come up to what a business can be. And again, that would be a product, which is an actual physical utility that somebody can use or not use. It could be absolutely useless, like a pet rock, or it could be
an air conditioning unit, a car.
It's a product. It's a physical thing. Or it could be a service, which is something that is provided by either humans or machinery that get things done for you. Massages would count as a service. What other examples of services? Yes, also count as a service. Anything that requires like brain power researchers, advisors.
It's not a physical product.
It's not a physical product.
It's someone going through a process to give you something.
Correct. Yoga would be probably a best example of a hybrid because you would have physical items that you would purchase while actually doing the activity of yoga. So if you go to an actual yoga studio, they would sell you what you would need to, like yoga mats, actual products to actually do the actual workout.
And they'd run you through the class, which would be a service.
Yes, which would absolutely be a service. So, if you have an idea for any of these three things, you're essentially on the fast. It's the hybrid. It's product or service or hybrid between the two.
Wouldn't a hybrid technically still just be a product and a service?
I'm just saying that these are the physical. Definitions of how they're described. You can either have a product, you sell a product, you can provide a service, or you can have a hybrid between the two. Those are the only three things you can do to start a business. So, I want to talk about the idea. So, you have an idea for something. I want people to understand that a lot of people mistake concepts for ideas. Now, we have to define what a concept is. To me, a concept is a fraction of information that seems to make sense or is a piece of something or it leads to something. It's not quite an idea. It's just like, what if blah, blah, blah happens, but something seems to be missing. It's just a fraction of an idea or a piece of something that is leading to a bigger idea, something that you're exploring to add other concepts until it makes a strong foundation into something that can be brought into the real world, thus becoming an idea. So a lot of people mistake concepts into thinking they're ideas because they'll come up with a concept, believe it's a great idea, and then want to worry about the details later on and move forward without actually properly taking the steps into making it a solid idea. And that is a mistake.
A big mistake. Anybody I know who's had a business of any type, the details matter. The details always matter. Because if you don't pay attention to the details, then your business gets out of hand, all kinds of things can go drastically wrong.
Everything that your business is about needs to be thought of. Every problem that you can think of, everything helps you stay in business if you think of it early. So basically, your idea is going to be the roadmap of finding out if your journey with it is going to be something that is fruitful or is it going to be nightmarish. You can find these things out with a little bit of research because the great things about ideas is that innovation, coming up with that brand new thing, is going to be hard. So you're going to be copycatting pretty much everything. Everything that is good comes from copying. There's nothing wrong with copying.
Copying is human nature.
Absolutely. Which leads us to my definition of an idea. I believe that an idea is essentially a full flat out have it written down. Basically, an idea is either a blueprint, prototype, system, or plan that stands to exist in the real world.
So
Concepts. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's a concept that basically has been
It cannot exist in the real world. It's just a fraction. Yes, it's all the concepts.
Some stress testing.
You just throw as many concepts into it until it's something that can actually exist in the real physical world that we can. It's something that you can actually do. It's something that you can actually.
It can be tangible in some form or fashion.
Correct. And if it's a concept, it's not something that can cross over. That can be built into the real world. It's a fragment. When you actually have an idea, now you have the beginnings, the origins of whatever it is that you need to do to actually bring it into being. So it starts with your mind, and then you can build upon it your foundation of whatever it is that you're trying to build, whether it be a system or a prototype or whatever it is for your product or your service or hybrid.
So, in the most layman terms way, concept would be, it'd be cool to have something that holds something.
Correct.
Idea would be, let's have a hollowed out tube that you can put fluids in
with a bottom, with
now
a stable bottom that you can put fluids in. I'll call it the cup. Yes, it's an idea. It's something that can be like, oh, well, what can we do? What can we do to make this cylinder and put this bottom on? Oh, the bottom holds. The liquid, it works.
Now my fluid is portable.
But you can't get to that until you have an idea that it is logical, makes sense, and something that you can actually make happen within the real world. So a lot of times, especially when it comes to businesses and things like that, when it comes to the idea, I know a lot of people want to make it something enchanting and magical. Like, where do ideas come from? What part of the pony? What part of the pony universe do ideas come from? Where are these magical ideas? I have heard somebody. I swear to God, this is true. I swear, this is so true. This is embarrassing. That they believe that there is a reality in which fairy tales exist and unicorns and that sort of stuff exist. Like a dream reality where we share a consciousness that keeps these worlds alive, and in them we manifest through our subconscious, which is our connection to these worlds, these ideas.
I feel like I've read that in a manga somewhere.
I heard
from like the 80s or the 70s.
Well, then that would make sense how this got into the mind of a human being. I'm going to make it simpler than that. It's quite simple. Ideas come from one place and one place only in my mind. What you know. You don't get ideas magically from the sky. It comes from the things that you love, the things that you are obsessed about, the things that you know, the things that you put your education to, the things that you put your mind to, the things that you're passionate about.
That you have aptitude for.
Correct. Because if you are dealing with these subjects or these things, you are learning everything about them, but you're also learning things that aren't being utilized with them. That's where your ideas are coming from. Your ideas come from questions like, how come nobody, or what if, or wouldn't it be great? Oh yes. Wouldn't it be faster? How
can this be better?
How can this be better? A lot of ideas come from that. Even something that you would think would be relatively new, which would be, okay, let's look at email and just digital transmission of information. We have a slower handmade mail version of it, which is why we call it mail. Somebody was like, wouldn't it be faster if we did it digitally? It's the same concept. It's information, instead of being put into an envelope and physically given from one person to another. Somebody was like, you know what? We have found ways in which we were doing codes and all things through radios and things like that. What if there was a system?
That would actually be a precursor.
Yeah, what if there
telegrams.
Which is why embrace copy. Stop trying to be innovators and trying to find just brand new things out of the sky. That is not your job.
Well, there is value
in
starting
value
square one and looking at a new way of doing a system. But
the best idea
9 out of 10 times,
yes,
you need a foundation so you can improve upon. And if you have to start from square one, you have to sink a lot of time and effort and energy.
Imitation is the best creative tool, period. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Of course, give credit to the minds that came before you. Give credit to the people who gave you the gift of the things that you love or inundated with or interested in which you have a curative mind to explore and find what has not been done with these things